those of the authors. Any content provided by our bloggers or authors are of their opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, municipality, individual, or anyone or anything.
He's a surgeon. He's a 100-ton boat captain. He's a lieutenant on Seaside Heights Beach Patrol in New Jersey. He's a member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary. He's Dr. Michael Kachmar. Need answers to your medical questions? We have them. Listen in to hear latest on medical topics related to all that and more.
My mistake.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Michael Kachmar. This is Lifeguards Off Duty with Dr. Michael Kachmar. Today's date is October 14th, the year of our Lord, 2022. And we have a special guest today, Scott. We're going to introduce him in a second, but we have also today Sean. Tyler's not here, excuse me. Tyler's not here. Sean is here. I'm so used to saying, that spot. I have it on my keyboard here. Anyway, I don't know where Tyler is. He's working. He's delivering pizza or something. Singing, yeah. So, Scott, can you introduce yourself? Let us know a little bit, who you are, where you are, what you've been doing, for all these years, and where you lifeguard out. That's the most important thing.
Well, hey, everybody. Good day. Scott Ruddle I live in London, Ontario, Canada.
Wow.
Just north. If you think of London's kind of located about halfway between Detroit and Toronto.
Wow.
So if you're traveling across the border there. And lived here since 1998. And I'm a full-time paramedic in the city of London, working on the ambulance. And I moved to London, and I've been a lifeguard since all the way back in 1986. I got certified as a pool lifeguard. Around 96, I took my waterfront lifeguard certificate. And in 98, when I moved down here, I started working with the Grand Bend Beach Patrol on Lake Huron, one of the 5 Great Lakes. So that's just finished off summer number 25, working part-time on the beach patrol. When I was,
wow.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Other lifeguard stuff. Let's see. I was certified down in Costa Rica as a surf lifeguard. And back in 2008, I took the certification to do water park lifeguarding as well, dealing with the wave pools and slides and flume rides. I've worked with the Ontario branch of the Life Saving Society as a lifeguard instructor, a lifeguard examiner, water safety auditor. I teach the patrol rider course, which is how to use PWCs as a rescue platform. Competed in both regional, provincial, national, and international lifeguard competitions. One of the first international ones I was down in 2002, down in Daytona, Florida. Traveled to Italy in 2004 and to Australia in 2006 to compete in the Masters division.
Wow.
I like to say
Yeah.
there's 2 types of competitors out there. There's the athletes who are lifeguards, and then there's the lifeguards who try and be athletes for a day out there on the beach, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Swiftwater rescue training. And yeah,
That's a long list of
kind of
credentials, Scott. Damn.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a long career lifeguarding too, Sean.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's we live and breathe it. So it's I'm a physician, but I probably I think if I had my way, I'd say first I'm a lifeguard, and I got you beat. I started in 76. So, I started at a pool, maybe 75, and then I went to the ocean in 77, actually 77. But I got so many questions to ask you because, where you lifeguard, it's a lake, but it's really not. It's like, I'm very sure it has a lot of attributes or, conditions like the ocean. So we got a couple questions that, we want to ask you. First of all, how like we get, we have currents, we'll have hurricanes, we have big ocean, we have rip currents. So how is the water there? Like, what did you have all of that? I mean, is there a current? Is there?
And since you did guard on the ocean, what is the differences like that you can speak on?
Oh yeah. Well, qualify that. I'm certified as, but I've never actually lifeguarded. I've competed in the ocean environment, but I've never actually worked a lifeguarded beach down on the saltwater
It's still
environment.
familiar.
Yeah, oh, totally. So let's remember, like, you got five Great Lakes. Lake Superior is the biggest one, big enough to take down, 730-foot ships. I mean, the Edmund Fitzgerald went down
Yeah.
on a November storm. You got Lake Michigan, which is the only Great Lake which is entirely within the continental U.S. They both kind of flow into Lake Huron, which is made up of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay, down through the Detroit River and into Lake Erie over Niagara Falls into Lake Ontario, and then you're out the St. Lawrence Seaway to the Atlantic, where I could launch a boat from my beach and end up down in the Jersey Shore if I wanted to.
We actually
Wow.
Googled that before you came on to say, I wonder if you could get a boat from the ocean, from the Lake
Oh,
Huron
yeah.
to the Atlantic.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd have to go through a hell of a lot of locks or a big portage around Niagara Falls.
So what are some
when you're
hazards
dealing,
that you guys have to, that you deal with while you're
yeah,
on,
so
on Lake
when
Huron?
you're dealing with a lake that is, I mean, if I took a shot from our beach on a northwest diagonal, I could end up over in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and that's about 200 miles of wind fetch there. So if we get a northwest wind blowing on that angle, and waves are produced by wind strength, how long duration it's blowing, and over how much water it can blow, we can end up with like 7, 8 foot waves coming into our beach. And I think you guys made a mention in a previous podcast. The biggest difference, though, is it's not an ocean swell that kind of, I mean, they do stack up sometimes, but we're on windblown fetch. So we get a wave period of only about 4 or 5 seconds. So it's wave, wave, wave hitting you. We do have sandbars and different ridges that are out in the lakes. So yeah, we get lateral currents. We call it a pier. I guess you guys would call it a jetty because it's a solid structure that goes down to the lake bed that kind of guards the mouth of the river towards the marina near our beach. So we get a rip current forming there, a structural rip current, but we'll get flash little rips that kind of burst through sections of the sandbar. We don't get like the traditional rips kind of between sandbars or coral heads or whatnot. Although you get those little, a couple or three waves pile up, and then there's a great big flush of water going out, and you get that little
Oh,
bit of
yeah.
a suck going on there. Um, Wave days are something we can mitigate a lot for because, when they're big, we can start changing flag colors, kind of say, hey, let's keep you waist deep,
Would it
no
come
deeper than that.
would it come in like a period, like it would only be like if it's windy for 2 to 3 hours, is that only when the waves come, or would it be all day?
So as soon as the wind stops generating those waves, then the waves are going to start dying down. So then you're going to see the whole. And if we're doing a 6 to 8 hour shift down there on the beach, and let's say the wind blew all night, but it was calm in the morning, we'd have the 4 and 5 footers coming in up until about noon, 4 to 3 till about 3 in the afternoon, and then by the end that we're coming into the end of our shift, we'd have maybe 2 foot swells just kind of rolling in the remnants of what's going on.
Wow. What's the temperature of the water? Say in the summer and in winter, like what's the range of your temperature?
So we have a swim season pretty similar to you, somewhere around the 20th of May, which is our what they call the May 2 for the Victoria Day holiday weekend. That's kind of when cottagers start showing up in the area. The water is still probably only about 58, 60 degrees Fahrenheit then. Um, Throughout the course of the summer, it can heat up till, probably about 76.
Oh, so about what we
Uh,
get then. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, and then it'll
Wow.
stay warm into the fall, which is really
Oh,
neat
wow.
because now in the fall temperatures, the water can still be into December. I've been surfing in December in full wetsuit and hoodie and everything, but the water's probably about 4 degrees. Although the air, I'll have like ice pellets hitting me in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Wow.
kind of a
Do,
funny
do,
situation.
Now, do you get like we get like right now we have the bunker, which is in Manhattan. They're going south, and you got whales, work a lot of stripers and bluefish. You guys got what do you have? What kind of wildlife you have in the water there?
So wildlife in the water, because we get ocean tankers that have come up through the St. Lawrence Seaway, they've introduced invasive species. We have zebra mussels.
Oh
That's kind of
yeah.
the one of the bigger hazards to beach patrons, just because the sharp shells, they can cut your
Right, but
feet if
they won't
they're
take your leg off or anything like that, though.
no, they no. Uh, no, nothing that big. I mean,
You know, like when you work out, swimming in the water, you're not worried about getting, hit by a
oh
shark.
no,
Yeah,
no,
okay, that's what I was.
no freshwater sharks. I mean, and even the big fish that they have. I mean, there's the odd story of like a lake pike or a muskie coming up and going after somebody's toes. But
You guys get jellyfish and stuff like that, or no?
nope, no jellyfish.
Oh wow. Okay.
So, but so here's the neat thing: freshwater, we're limited to just trout, lake, pickerel, different, and they're still commercial fish. I mean, like we get freshwater lake sturgeon, which
Oh
is
yeah,
still
big,
an
right?
active fishery and stuff, and they're
Right.
huge, but they're
Yeah.
bottom feeders just on stuff. But the biggest difference that I can say between the ocean and the freshwater environment is when I go swimming in the ocean, I usually float somewhere around my collarbone.
Yeah.
Like I'll just
Yeah.
because of my buoyancy in the salt water.
Right.
I'm in the fresh water, I'm in the
Yeah.
skinny water, I'm floating just below my
Yeah.
lip.
Yeah.
So when you're faced with all of those same currents, rip currents, a shorter wave period, and now you've got less flotation, we get people who are competitive swimmers and, oh yeah, I was an ocean lifeguard and I'm out here. I had a friend come up and visit me from Australia. The first thing he did was walk out to the shoreline, dip his fingers in it and taste it and go, it's not salty.
Yeah.
And then get out and try and swim in it and go,
Yeah.
man, I can't throw anything. I just feel like I'm in thin air here. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
fresh
And
water. Deal with it.
yeah. And I think about it. So if you have a boat or something, you don't have to worry about barnacles and stuff like that. It's not as much, or is it? No.
No, no, algae and zebra mussels, which are still
Yeah.
a pain in the ass to go and scrape off if they're an infestation in the river mouth there. But
So and
yeah,
like in your beach now, like our beach, it changes. You got sandbars and things like that. But our beach will go, from the days there, it could go from 0 to 15, 20 feet. With maybe less than 25 yards out. What kind of gradual? And that's just our beach. South Cape May is a little different. Atlantic City is a little different. But how is it on your area? Is it all just pretty much the same, gradual, or is there? You say you have sandbars, so I guess there is some movement of sand. And again, the second question, part of that question is, do you get a traditional rip current where you get the sandbar and the waves come over and then they go out in a traditional sea puss?
so Sam.
Classic word.
Yeah, sea puss. Yeah.
So let's see. To start off with, Great Lakes are really big, but even that big, we do have a tide. Our tide is about 3 inches,
Wow.
so nothing you would even notice.
Yeah.
Lake level water fluctuation is determined by different years, the amount of like winter precipitation, how much water. So 25 years of working there, I've seen a range of lake levels go up and down over the years that could be probably as much as 4 feet. But once you've had all the snow melt in the spring, the lake level is pretty much the same until the next year. Beach ice, we get the lake can freeze over. I mean, as large as it is, we can still get the entire lake froze over on some years, depending on how cold it is, if we get an Arctic blast coming down. And that sea ice will pile up and move around. There's still currents going on underneath it, which will still move sediment and move sandbars around. So some years we'll have a shoreline sandbar, maybe a 6 or 7 foot trough out to a second sandbar that's maybe about 50 meters, maybe about 70 yards
Oh
offshore,
wow.
and that would be probably about 4 feet deep. But then you can have another year where if all of the winter storms have gone and moved all of the sediment around, it'll just smash the outer sandbar into the shoreline sandbar, and you'll just have a single sandbar out, 30, 50, 60 yards, which really plays havoc on our visitors who come back. And it's like one year they're swimming out to a sandbar, the next year there isn't a second sandbar.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're whistling them back in. It's like, hey, come on back to shore. It's like, I'm just going to the sandbar. It's like, no, there's no sandbar. You're going to swim to Michigan before you get one, you know?
Yeah, you talk about a
So,
second sandbar. We rarely have that. I mean, I remember once we had a really bad storm, and so usually we have traditionally a gully and then a sandbar, and then it just it goes just deep. And but we had one year where we had a double sandbar, and that was a unique situation. I don't know what year it was, and that was posed a lot of problems. So we don't have that, but we do get the ocean swell when there's storm 1,000 miles out. Especially with the hurricanes, that's what kills us. So I guess you get the northeast storms that play havoc in the summertime. We get the hurricanes right now. We just the last week that we worked, I think there was about 5-6 drownings, not in our beach,
wow.
but all around, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and
When you had the second sandbar, Mike, did you see an increase in your rescues?
I don't remember. It was such a long time. I tell you what I did. It was so far out. We would have we work a long day, so and our tides are not a couple inches. They're 6, 7, 8 feet. It could be 12 feet. I mean, we have it's ridiculous. I mean, we have to move our stands. So what happens is that in the morning, if it's high tide, people don't notice sandbars. Our people too, in our beach in Seaside Heights, we have an inner city crowd. I mean, it's mostly non-swimmers, and there's a certain amount of people are having a good time, so they're drinking, they're high, whatever. So, and we try not to let them know there's a sandbar, but as the day goes down, it gets lower and lower, and they go out. And I remember about that time they were so far out, you couldn't stop them from going out there. We put lifeguards out there to monitor it, but you need binoculars to see the people. And I think it was more that we accommodated it by putting boats out and boards out and putting lifeguards right on the bar. But it was the distance, and that's what really creates a lot of angst on me, because when we have a gully and it's close, somebody's in trouble. They might be 10 feet off the beach. But when you have somebody who could be 50 yards out, and you got to run through dive in, swim through the gully, run on a bar, then swim again and hit the bar. You're talking a lot of time, even if you're a good athlete, and it's a matter of seconds sometimes with these people. So we get a little bit, So I don't remember exactly, but that was a unique situation. We had a beach replenishment thing here. How many years ago? About 5 years ago now.
Not even, like 3 or 2.
Yeah, no, it was more than that.
It's my 7th year, so it's definitely not my second that happened.
Yeah, and we had all beach replenishment, and when they did that, we had no sandbars, no nothing, because they put about at least 100 yards of beach, maybe more, probably 200 yards, and there was just nothing. It was just water, and there was no bar, nothing. And now just recently we got our sandbars back again, and so it changed up the whole thing. But we are getting back to a more normal scenario. But what kills us is in our area here in June we have a swell, a June swell, and so we'll get some big waves. Then July and August are usually pretty calm, except for the hurricanes. And we've had over the years, hurricanes blast off of Carolina coast. Or further south, but traditionally our worst time is the end of August, the beginning in September. We work until the end of September, and this year it was pretty bad for other beaches. The other thing that was interesting this summer is when we have a south wind, we get what's called an upswelling. I don't know if you get that, but what will happen is that the wind will blow, it pushes the water out, the top water, and we get this cold water. And we had about 2 weeks where inland it was 100, 105, 110, but on the beach it was freezing. And the water, because what happens is the south wind would blow the water out. The water was in the 50s, and then you would get to the end of the day in the afternoon, you'd get a southeast that would blow the cold air off the water, but just to basically where we lifeguarded. And then, two blocks in, it was 100 degrees, where the south wind was predominating, And so it was definitely a weird summer. Remember, I mean, we would be freezing on a lifeguard stand, but, I'd go home and it'd be, 95 degrees. So it was kind of crazy.
All the same. We get a combination of, we can have wave days. And like I said, we're pretty good with throwing up flags and keeping people in, on days where it's like the wave is coming up the beach, and our beach slope isn't too steep. so we don't get too much of a backwash that suck. Some people call it like an undertow, and I don't really care for
Right,
that
right,
term too much. It doesn't really pull you under; it pulls you out, and the next wave throws you back up the slope
right,
again.
right,
So
right,
you're
right.
just caught in the washing machine. We get so on days where we've got like a larger backwash, and that will keep people in closer. Our bigger problem is on, like you were just describing there, Mike. We get offshore breeze days, and we've got the people who aren't probably great swimmers or swimmers at all, who are on like the inflatable toys, the air mattress, the blow up flamingo or something like that. They're being blown offshore, and all of a sudden they're getting out there and they're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't get back in. They go and abandon the toy, and
Yeah,
now
The best
they're over
move.
their head.
yeah,
And what you described with that your Southwest there, it's the same thing I say with the offshore breeze. It's almost like if you were blowing over the bowl of soup, eh?
yeah.
You would blow the hot water out, and the
Right.
cold water from the lake would come back in and
Yeah.
replenish it. We had probably about 5 6 years ago, and we go to the Labor Day Monday in September as well. We had 3 days of heavy offshore breeze, and we dropped that water temperature from probably about 75 down to 58.
Ooh. Yeah.
And
That's
in
that was
three
blowing. Yeah,
days,
yeah,
all of the patrons who came to
yeah,
the beach were like,
yeah.
"Hey, a gorgeous sunny day. Let's go in for a swim."
Mm-hmm.
And they were
Mm.
like running out, going, "Who threw the ice cubes in the water, man? It is
Yeah,
just freezing in here." It's like,
yeah.
well,
Well,
welcome to Mother Nature.
I got tired of it. I mean, because we have to train, so we start training in early. I mean, sometimes we start in March, but May is usually where we start going. We swim in the bay, and usually the water warms up by the end of May, going into June. This summer it sucked, and I mean, I don't know how many times I just had to gut it up. We were
It was a
swimming in
cold
60
year.
degrees. I mean, I could handle 62 and above. I could handle, but anything lower than that, it just hurts. And but we have to train, and it was rough. Let me ask you this: what kind of equipment do you guys use? So we have ATVs, we have jet skis, we have boats, we have boards. Like what kind of array of equipment do you guys have?
So
Like what?
in Grand Bend, on we're a small community of only about 2,200 people. So the tax base to go and fund the lifeguards isn't that great there. So we have rescue cans and we have rescue paddle boards. We're only covering about a half mile, like just under a kilometer of shoreline there. It's open public access. There's no gated entry or anything. Anybody can drive up, pay, and walk out onto the
How
sand.
far did you say you were from London?
About just under an hour's drive of London. London is almost halfway right between Lake Erie and Lake Huron.
So
So I've had a chance to work.
how's the crowd that you guys have to deal with then?
So you get, even though the population of Grand Bend is 2,200, it probably swells to about 5 in the summertime with the local cottagers. Then you have all of the day people who are coming from London. We've had people as far away as Toronto, which has got to be like almost a 2.5 hour drive. But we also get the people who will hop over from just the other side of Sarnia at Blue Water. Um, um, I'm forgetting the name of the town that's just on the other side of the Blue Water Bridge from Sarnia there.
Well, what? So you say they
Um,
have to pay? You're a paid beach?
no,
Oh, okay.
they
I thought.
they pay parking,
Oh, okay.
but that's it. It's not a gated entry, sir. It's not a park or
Right,
anything.
right. So what kind of crowd would you think you get? Like like on a 4th of July day, like how many, what would you
You
estimate?
you just hit the great number there, because Canada Day is July the 1st,
Oh,
but
okay.
4th of July, we get all of our American visitors come over
Oh,
because the drinking age up here is only 19.
oh, really?
Oh, really? So all
Oh,
of a sudden we get the
ooh.
double whammy of all of the Canadians who want to go and have a good time on Canada Day, and then all
Oh,
of our
wow.
American visitors who stick around 3 more days and are ready to go on the 4th of July. On the busy weekends, we've got a holiday weekend the 1st of July, and we get a holiday the first Monday in August. On the busiest days, we've estimated that we probably get about 10,000 people on the sand and probably about 2,000 people in the water
Oh,
at a time,
and how many lifeguards
squashed
you
in
have?
that half mile.
And how many
So
lifeguards
we
you have?
have 4 lifeguard towers, and
Okay.
on the weekends we try and staff at least 2 per tower. On the weekdays, we'll have uh, two in the tower that is right opposite of our bathhouse area, so that we can have somebody get back to get the phone, the oxygen, and any other supplemental first aid stuff. And then we would have singles in the tower. So you probably only have about 5 or 6 during weekdays and 8 to maybe 10 on the weekends.
Oh wow! And so now you say you have rescue cans, and you have boats or boards or a jet ski or none of that. No.
Rescue board, paddle board. No, we used to have a jet ski a long time ago. The town kind of started looking at it as a liability, just because we would want to anchor it within the swim zone and be able to launch it and get out. And they were like, well, you don't want to hit anybody. Even though we try and prove it's like we were all certified, and we would take it out and then patrol the outer limit of our swim zone. They're not interested in covering the insurance and the liability sometimes.
Have you ever had to like respond with or without the jet ski to like anything out of your swim zone to a boat or something?
The furthest we've probably gone offshore, I apologize. I'm going to be switching back and forth between metric and imperial.
I do the water temp earlier.
I do water temperature in Fahrenheit all the time, but I would normally do air temperature in Celsius. And I do distances. I always go by what a swimming pool is. So our swim zone goes about 100 meters offshore. So think of 2 laps of the Olympic pool that Phelps was swimming in. He swims 100-meter freestyle. So about 100 meters offshore, maybe I guess that's about 120 yards, is where the edge of our swim zone is. Past that, if somebody starts to swim out there, we'll get on the paddleboard, go out and yell at them, and it's like, get back in. And we're really lucky because we have a local bylaw that actually says failure to obey a lifeguard can result in a municipal fine. So we got it. Yeah, so we get a little bit of enforcement that way. We're not in charge of looking after boats. We would radio the marina. The marina would radio the Canadian Coast Guard cutter to see where they could respond to. So the only advantage of having a boat ourselves is more to keep the rental jet skiers out of our swim zone by patrolling our swim line. So most of the other time, the stuff we can get to pretty fast. And with a paddleboard, I've supported as many as like 4 or 5 people on it if we've had to do that.
Is your swim area so roped off? Do you have like buoys and or is it just an imaginary line, area? Or do you have it defined?
No ropes, but we do have buoys. We actually have 2 sets of buoys. We have what we call our swim markers to keep, which is the edge of our swim zone. Right. And then about another 50 meters past that, we have the boat markers, which is to keep the boats out. And then we have like no man's land in between the two, kind of offering that safe buffer just in case either of them kind of stray out of that area.
So when you say you have your cans, right? You have your cans, and you have like we have a can. We swim out. That's the first swimmer, and then second swimmer takes out another can with a rope. That's our traditional rescue, and then we hook up and we pull everybody in. Do you do that also? Do you guys have ropes like that, or no? You just go, like fins?
No, when I did my ocean certification, we practiced doing a rope can rescue in that, and I think both of you, Sean and Mike, you've alluded to different times where you get so many people grabbing hold of the rope, and it's like, let's get the rescuer back in as fast as we can. And the rescuer's trying to raise a hand, like, stop pulling. I'm submarine and underwater here. I can't breathe. It's never been something that we've looked at. I know that I've visited some of the beaches down in Lake Michigan area, like down in, I think it's down in Indiana. One of the beaches down there, they have a rope line can attached to the front of a pickup truck down there. We swim out, and we're kind of a one go, we all go type thing. If 4 people are out there, 4 lifeguards are going out there. Yeah, it leaves the beach, less scanned or monitored for the moment. But our thing is get out there, get them in fast, and then get back up in towers. Kind of resolve the situation. So we haven't employed the can system. Using a paddleboard. If somebody's chasing with a paddleboard after, we can easily get them up out of the water and onto the board and bring them in.
Well, one thing about us is that we get when we do have rip currents, like a defined, uh, um, organized, ripping current, you can't swim against it. And the only way to get the people in is with a rope, and you're pulling. I mean, you're getting sucked. I mean, it's like takes 2-3 people to do that. That stuff that's kind of like off a bar in a gully when there's no really current. We just do the same thing. We call it a snap or whatever. We'll just grab them and the person will just bring them in. But there are times where there's no way. And then we have a lot of problems too. I don't know how it is in your country, up there. Well, it's the same country, but we have morbidly obese.
Well, it's a different country, Kashmar.
Yeah, no.
We're in Canada. You're in the States.
We have people that are 400 pounds swimming. 20, 30-year-olds. And I tell these guys, we're not going to be able to bring them in. I mean, these people are huge. And the other thing we have, funny, is everybody wears clothes now. About 40% of our people. We have now a lot of migrants, and this summer was the worst. And they wear their buttoned up collars, shorts. They don't speak English. They're out there, they're drunk, and so it's kind of interesting. But a lot of times, we try to make the decision whether or not we need a can. But getting back to the numbers, that's 10,000. That's a good crowd. We on a 4th of July, we probably have about 40,000. But we have a mile beach, and we'll have 12 lifeguard stands. 6 on each side, and we try when it's busy to have 3-man stands. But we have other issues. I mean, do you have to deal with surfers, number one, and number two? Do you have, like on the beach, who deals with the alcohol, or if there's any disturbances or people doing crazy stuff, digging holes or flying kites, or just let it all go? Like who handles that?
So this is kind of joking to you. We're different countries for sure. However, lifeguarding is lifeguarding.
Yeah.
We're still a lady or man in a bathing suit, wearing a rescue can, maybe has fins, looking through a set of binos, and anticipating what's going on. All of that is the same. So yeah, do we deal with first generation Canadians who are visiting, who may have come from a different country where surface water wasn't that clean and swimming lessons just weren't available.
Yeah.
So they all of a sudden come here, and here's a gorgeous piece of fresh water that I could probably drink and not get sick, although don't go and do that. And now they're in the water and thinking, this is great. And I've never worn a bathing suit before. Why would I wear one?
Yeah, we get that.
So
yeah.
we deal with all of the first generation Canadians who don't have great swimming skills. We deal with all of the young Canadians and young American visitors who, I'm here to party, I'm here to have a good time. We deal with all of the elderly people who are like, I don't want that volleyball net near me, and those kids are smoking. Those kids are smoking over there. It's like, you get everything. Yeah. So our first priority, as with any lifeguard, is always the water and watching the water and keeping the swimmers safe. If the water is reasonably safe, it's turning your attention to things that are going on around. We do get people who dig and tunnel, although not that deep, because pretty soon they're going to hit the water table, and it's like, oh, my pit's filling in with water. For the people who are unruly, we have our municipal bylaw officers who walk around, and then if further enforcement needs to occur, we've got the provincial police detachment that's in town that would come and help take care of that. As lifeguards, we'll go and give a warning, and then if need be, we're on the radio just asking for assistance, saying, look, we don't have time to get out and deal with this. This is the disturbance. And as I'm sure Sean and Tyler, if he was here, would say, it's like, I'm all about everybody having a good time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But your good time doesn't need to interfere with somebody else's good time. So let's all have a good time together.
Yeah, that's exactly. Well, we try to de-escalate everything, and I like that you call it first generation Canadians. I like that. We could call them first generation Americans.
We could do that. We could start doing.
That's
that.
a little bit politically might not be politically correct or advantageous in our area, but we have the same idea. Every people are people, and our whole deal is nobody drowns, nobody gets hurt. Yeah. And we want everybody to go. And they try our patience, but we also, I tell these guys all the time, listen, they're down, they're having fun. Some people have never been in the ocean, never seen the water, and it's all new to them. And the only thing that gets us is that we just get such volume. Sometimes we get overwhelmed, and but we I wouldn't say we handle it. We do.
yeah.
I go down and talk to these guys, and I try to keep it light, and we have fun. I always tell them if we don't have fun, it's not worth it. So do you guys have how much? So the waves you talk about, are they surfable? Do you have a lot of surfing? Because you said how.
Well, I think I sent a picture to Tyler there of
Okay.
actually me surfing on a wave down in Lake Erie. We get surfing waves, but those are going to be like really, really high wind days. And like I said, the air temperature is going to be cool. Probably not really beach days in the first place, except
Yeah.
for those people who have like rented a cottage. They're there for the week and they feel like every day has to be a beach day. Otherwise, they got,
Are you guys
cut
just
out
in,
of their
5
investment.
mils like most of the year up there? How cold is it? It gets 3 degrees, you said, so that's like 36 here or 35.
Oh yeah,
here?
when I'm just above freezing, yeah.
Oh my
I mean,
God,
so
dude.
but that's in like, November, December. I
Okay,
mean, I
so
think the picture I sent to Tyler there was of me. It was January 19 because it was like 2 days before my birthday, and I was in surfing. I tried to surf every month of one complete year. So, but then the lakes froze over in February, and I couldn't catch any waves.
damn.
Wow.
You said that you competed in competitions. What events did you do?
Uh, let's see. So usually competitions are broken up into pool events and beach events,
Did you
and
did you
then
do
the
the
beach
life saving
events.
ones?
Yeah,
Okay, so we
yeah.
actually we
So
covered that on something before. It's like, oh, did you do like you hold the guy the rescue me Bob, we call it? What?
yeah, the plastic mannequin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the swimming pool, they do. Let's see. There's obstacle swim where they hang. It's a plastic gate that they hang off of the lane ropes, and it's supposed to actually simulate as if you were going out to do a rescue in surf, and you were having to duck under every wave every couple of meters. So there's obstacle swim. There's uh, a rescue swim with fins where you grab hold of the mannequin. There's one where they take the rescue tube, they snap it around a mannequin. Um, those are all different pool events. At the beach, they have paddleboard. They have surf ski, which is kind of like that sit on top kayak thing.
Yeah.
They have surf swim, paddleboard race. There's team events where somebody swims out. You and your partner swim out, grab them, and drag them back in. There's a 2 kilometer beach run. There's an 80 yard sprint, I think it is. And then there's another event called beach flags. Kind of think of
Oh,
that
I
as
love beach
like,
flags. Yeah.
you like
With
beach
you guys
flags?
use the hose in the
Yeah,
sand.
yeah,
Nice. This
yeah.
is this
I
is
always,
between other beach patrols by the Great Lake.
yeah. So on the Ontario side, we have the City of Toronto guards 13, I think 12 or 13 different beaches around Lake Ontario. Down on Lake Erie, there's the Port Stanley Beach Patrol. I used to be a member there as well. Grand Bend, the city of Sarnia have lifeguards, and I think the city of Colborne so that's all on the Canadian side. Down in the States, you have just outside of Chicago, you have, oh, I'm going to forget the name of the Evanston. The city of Evanston has a lifeguard team there. You have New Buffalo. Um, Apologies to any American friends if I forget your beach, man.
What
But
events did you do again? I don't know if those were the ones that you did.
yeah, so I was a silly master who thought, hey, it's the only time I'm going to Worlds. I may as well do them all. I
Nice.
think I sucked at all of them, so it's all good.
Well, at least at least you did them.
At least you showed up.
Yeah.
You mentioned Chicago. We did a profile in Chicago. They had some kind of problems going there. I think maybe
They had a staffing issue.
somebody died. I think the individual who initially started the program. I don't remember exactly. I don't know if you remember. There was some controversy. He died, and then there was something corruption. I don't know.
So a very good friend of mine, Adam Abazian, who worked with the USLA division of the Great Lakes there as well, I believe. He passed away just this year back in May.
Yeah, we profiled that. Yeah,
They had an issue with their city, and I can't remember what it was. But the city of Chicago also came up into the news, I think, because they were trying to get rescue ring buoys down on certain areas of the waterfront in case somebody fell in, they could throw like a ring buoy, a lifesaver to them. And the city kind of pushed back a little bit, saying, we don't want to go and put rescue equipment out there because then people might think that this is a swimming area and it might encourage people to go swimming there. And it was like, what would you want? No rescue equipment and somebody in the water, or rescue equipment and it's there when somebody's in distress. So
Well, I tell you, I'm sorry. It's funny because there's a lawsuit right now at one of the local beaches here, where in fact the family of the individual who drowned, one of their stipulations is they want ring buoys and things for if somebody is in the water and there's no lifeguards available, that there's some kind of rescue equipment that could be thrown to the individual. So, I mean,
and it's a funny argument. It's a funny argument too, because some people will say, "Oh, well, I don't want that rescue equipment there." Somebody might think they're a lifeguard and try and go do a rescue. And my argument back to them is like, you walk into any building nowadays, you probably walk by a hose cabinet and a fire extinguisher. Why is that there? Do you think people are going to think they're a firefighter and start attacking
and an
fire?
AED, they're all over the place,
I know.
So yeah, on one thing I wanted to ask you too is on your beach. So we go in. We have to be there before 9. So our hours most of the time are 9 to 6 on a weekend, 9 to 5 or 10 to 5 during the week. But pretty much 9 to 5. And most of the beach trolls around here are pretty close to that. And then obviously 7 days a week. How do you guys work it? What's the hours you do, and when do you get on the beach? And
so our staffing is let's see, Monday to Thursday. We're an 11:30 start. We are on the towers at 12. We'll work till 6, and then we got a half hour of tear down and put away the equipment. On weekends, we will do a 10:30 start. We'll be in the towers at 11. We'll work until 7 and then have a half hour tear down. So, and to be honest, prior to that, on the weekends especially, and on Friday, the only people who are really showing up are like mom, dad, and the little kids with the sand pails. And they're not going in. I mean, they're great. Usually they've got all the kids in life jackets, PFDs. They're all like, watching them like a hawk and everything. On the weekend, all of our big business and trouble sometimes are all of the 20-somethings. But they're all sleeping in until noon anyways, because they were all up last night at the bar.
That's interesting.
So, I mean, like, we're not dealing with them.
No, that's interesting because, I wouldn't think that 12 o'clock, I don't know if is that something, culture in your area? I mean, because we like on a weekend, we come in, we have to clear the beach. Sometimes there's hundreds and hundreds of people on the beach. And there's no way we started at 12 o'clock to be 10, would have been 10 people drowned. I mean, if it was.
We need everything set up before 12, but like definitely the rowdy crowd does start coming around 12.
Yeah.
Maybe if someone like sneakily slept on the beach or something, we'd have to like kick
But
them
you
off.
think about 11 o'clock. I mean, when we're doing breaks, I mean, I got pictures.
That's when it starts to get busy.
Yeah, but they're starting 12. But anyway, I don't know.
But maybe that's the point though, is that because real estate down there is such a premium, you got to get it's like standing in line for concert tickets. You got to be down there at 10 in the morning. Otherwise, you don't have a place for your blanket. With us, it's just, okay, well, there's still plenty of beach. I can still find a place for my blanket, my umbrella to go up. So there's not that much of a rush. And during the weekend, especially if you've had like cottage rent, people doing a rental or whatever, I always comment that we'll see around the 4:30 departure, because all of the families that were there at 10 in the morning, now it's all of a sudden 4:30. They've been there a whole day. Everybody's covered with sand. Everybody's sunburnt. And mom and dad are like, well, we better pack this up and get kids home so that we can shower them off and start dinner back at the cottage and get the little ones to bed. We'll still have the hangers on that showed on at noon, and they're staying there the whole day. They're staying till 9 o'clock sunset.
Yeah.
And we'll do. I'm not gonna ruin it because I know how I'm supposed to end the show, but our ending announcement will always be: the beach patrol is now off duty. The patrol would like to thank you for a safe day and hope you have a safe ride home. and then we'll take down all of our tower flags, and our signs all say no flag in the tower, no lifeguard on duty. And then we also have our hours of operation posted as well.
Do you have a speaker system, a loudspeaker system, or?
We do. It's attached to the building that's down on the beach is a combination of washrooms, concession stand, our storage area. There's an upper observation deck that they can, go up onto as well. The speakers are attached to that, but really we only reach like maybe a quarter, maybe a third of our beach if the wind is down. Other than that, the announcements don't really reach up to the far end of the beach. They're looking at trying to incorporate either a Bluetooth system or some other of a hardwired speaker system that would go all the way up to the far end.
Do you you guys? Well, yeah, we have like a speaker system, but the problem is when the wind's blowing one way or the other, it don't always work.
The problem is also that they installed it to face the boardwalk, so it doesn't even.
Yeah,
reach
well,
the
we had two. Yeah, well, we had two sets of speakers, one going one way, one going the other way. And I think what happened was whatever they purchased, they only got the one set, so it didn't work out.
All you people by the chip stand, pay attention.
Yeah. It wasn't too good. Well, that's pretty interesting. I would think it was different hours. What do you have any restrictions on your beach? Like we allow coolers. We don't allow only certain dogs. If they're
It's supposed to be a service dog.
But some beaches around here, no coolers, only umbrellas. We let canopies, but they're getting out of hand. They're really big, and sometimes we get so crowded you can't even see the water anymore. There's so many canopies, and we have to move sometimes to see the lifeguard stands left and right. And then when we move down, it's even tougher. So and we don't allow holes dig more than 2 foot. Actually, in June, it was a tragedy. About a mile north of our beach, an 18-year-old kid died in a hole. There was no lifeguards around. So I was just wondering, do you have any restrictions at all, or is it pretty much,
Yeah, so across the province of Ontario, the liquor license laws are the same as they are down there. It's no open alcohol off of a licensed establishment or a personal premise. So, but I mean, coolers, people bring down all kinds of food, lunch, drinks, and everything else. Our thing is priority is the water. If you hear the glass clinking behind you, then it's the usually it's the evaluation of what's going on. If I have 2 people in the tower and the water's not too busy, and be like, hey, I'm going down for a warm, and just walk over, and it's like same old thing. If it's a dad with one, it'd be like, okay, hey, you realize you can get a ticket if they catch you, and no glass on the beach, so get rid of that. If it's a group of 4 guys and they've got an entire case of beer for them, it's like, guys, party's over. Here's your warning. Take it back. Get rid of it. Because I'm not sure which one of you is driving home, but I don't want that on my head.
Yeah.
So alcohol's easy. It's, everybody knows the rule. Don't try and tell me I thought it was okay here. It's like, come on. Of course you knew it wasn't okay. Dogs, our beach has applied for and been a member of the Blue Flag Beach program for a number of years. And Blue Flag Beach started I believe over in Europe somewhere. And it's a certain number of criteria that if your beach has clean water, waste recycling program, a source of potable water for visitors, life-saving equipment around there, you can make application and you can be recognized as a clean, safe beach to come visit. One of the things under Blue Flag is they can't have pets down on the beach for fear that if they go and take a dump on the sand, the next rainstorm is going to flush that into the water and cause a rise in your bacteria level. So same thing as Sean mentioned. Yeah, service dogs are fine. Tents we used to have out there like crazy, and you would have the 23-member family reunion and all of the different, tinfoil pans are coming out and smells damn good is all I can say. But when you're taking up that much real estate, then all of a sudden once again, your good time shouldn't infringe on somebody else's good time. So the municipality a number of years ago came up with a bylaw saying no tents on the beach. You can have an umbrella, but not a tent. We understand that people got to be sun safe. With regards to how close the umbrellas can be to the shoreline, that's once again going to be the lifeguards in the tower. We have to do probably what I know, Sean, you've done this before. You had to put down like all the pylons or the caution tape, so you got it like a pathway from your tower to the shoreline.
Oh yeah.
That's what we do too. We'll string flags or something along our lane, and we're diligent about like, sorry, I know it's the best real estate on the beach, but you can't put your blanket there right now because I got to be running and go and grab your kids. So we'll clear a lane in front of each of the towers, and then we'll keep monitoring the shoreline. And usually, if they're probably like 30 feet back from the shoreline, it isn't blocking what we can see in the water in our shoreline gully. So all,
That's
like I
about what we
say,
do. We do this, yeah.
it's all the same.
So we you talk about dogs. We actually have the town has in their infinite wisdom have dog day, and they'll have about 100 yards of beach, and they'll be people could bring down their dogs, and so a couple times it was bad ocean, and I said to the chief, I said, should we make a left? I mean, if the dog's drowning, are we going to go save him? Because what happened was we had the guy went out with his dog, and they both were in trouble. I mean, the dog was hanging in there, but it was like a little Buffy, a little I don't know.
Chihuahua.
Yeah, something small, and I was like, we got to make the rescue. So we made a laugh about that. But what kind of certification you guys have? You mentioned USLA. So what do you guys have a Canadian similar situation, or do you follow USLA?
Yeah, so that's a unique thing up here. Back in, I think it was I've got to look at my history book. Back in 1964, there used to be probably about 8 different organizations that certified lifeguards up here in Canada. So you had like Red Cross, Boys and Girls Club, Boy Scouts, Town of wherever, all had these different, courses that would certify people as lifeguards.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, there was a number of people that came together, a whole bunch of different stakeholders, and said, you know what, wait a second, we need something, standardized across the board. So long meetings came around, and everybody said, okay, this is what a lifeguard should be certified in. And they made 4 different certifications. One was swimming pool, one was water parks, one was waterfront, and one was surf, which is anything basically saltwater. So anything waterfront, a small lake, inland lake, a river, a quarry that's been flooded in, a pond, or a great lake was all captured under the waterfront part. When they finally turned to all those stakeholders and said, okay, well, who's going to run this program? Everybody was like, it's too much, administration in that. And it was the the Canadian Life Saving Society that said, okay, we'll take care of administering it. And they certified instructors that said, kind of similar to the USLA's, except the USLA's hasn't gone to the route of certifying instructors. They say your program needs this, and if it's all in a row, then we'll certify you as a USLA lifeguard service. As far as I understand, is the
you're right on. They
don't
don't certify the lifeguards. They certify the entity, the employer, and you're absolutely right. You're right on with that. Right?
So that's the difference here in Canada is we have the Life Saving Society of Canada, and within that we have the different branches that are across the 13 provinces and territories, kind of like your states and districts. So now you have a standardized program across the entire country that says if you are a lifeguard in the East Coast, in Nova Scotia, in Quebec, our French-speaking province, in Ontario, all the way out to British Columbia, right above, Washington State there, then everybody is going to be certified the same way. Everybody is going to know how to do a submerged victim rescue. Everybody's going to know how to do a drowning, passive swimmer or active, drowning person. They're all going to have the same standard. different provinces, much like different states, can add a couple of more things that fall into their bread box. So if you're on the East Coast and you're looking after high tides, like the Bay of Fundy has the highest tides in the world, they're like 26 feet. Or if you're in BC and you're under a different first aid program in that province, so lifeguards in BC get like oxygen training and that at an earlier rate than what the Ontario guards do. There's some regional differences, but for the most part, all of the lifeguards are going to have this same base amount. And that's the biggest challenge that I see when I visit people down in the States is, like, if you look at the Great Lakes, like I mentioned, Ontario is the only province that touches 4 of the Great Lakes. That's it. Whereas down in the States, here, we should have done this for the quiz time with Kashmar here. Mike, I have a question for you. How many states touch the Great Lakes?
Ooh,
Oh, that's a good one.
let me think about it. I don't know the answer.
Oh, New York, Illinois, that's 2, and probably 2 or 3,
Michigan.
4. I would say.
Do you know off the top of your head, or you're
I'd
writing
say
it down?
I just guess. I would say 6.
More than that.
Think so. I don't know.
So you said Illinois, New York, and Michigan.
Yes.
I would say what's. I'm trying to think what's up in the northern
Idaho?
corner. No, I don't think that's. I don't know. I'm trying to think what's above Illinois.
There are 8. I'll give you the hint. There's 8
Close.
states that touch the Great Lakes.
What are they?
So
Michigan?
up in the Northwest, you got Minnesota
Minnesota.
and Wisconsin. You got Illinois. There's a small part of Indiana that touches on Lake Michigan.
I think you mentioned that
You got
earlier too.
Michigan State. You got Ohio, because Cleveland's on Lake Erie or right around there.
I wouldn't even. You know what? Yeah,
LeBron.
that's right.
And you have
right,
you
right,
have
right,
two
right,
of you.
right.
You have 2 of your neighbors. You mentioned New York because New York touches part of Niagara Falls, New York, and stuff like that.
No,
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's a
That's
big
the
one.
other one.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
underestimate
Pennsylvania.
how big Pennsylvania is.
Yeah, I was just up there. Yeah, Pennsylvania's big.
Massive.
Yeah, wow.
And there's a small little sliver that just kind of catches up on Lake Erie between Ohio and New York there.
All right, well, Scott. Okay, so now you got me on.
So now
on-
you're
Well,
so
go ahead,
you're
sorry.
dealing with 8 different states
Yeah.
with 8 different platforms and rules, 8 different state park rules, plus the national parks, the DNR and everything. Like, you have so many bodies that are involved in touching. And I always I laugh. It's like, oh man, I wouldn't want to be down here trying to
Listen,
organize 8 different families. It's incredible.
You know how the United States is. We can't do anything. It's got to be. We got to have. You guys are smart. You got one. Universal. No, we can't do that. No. Yeah, I mean, it's even our local. We're USLA, but actually we have USLA started in New Jersey, so you have a USLA chapter that actually originated it. Then you have the national USLA. I actually have friends in other parts of the world, down in the Caribbean. England has their own thing. So there's actually an international a meeting every once in a while. But anyway, that's interesting. I was wondering. How it works, and yeah, you're right. You got to have flexibility, no doubt about it. And one thing about USLA, they try not to put things in as say shall. Everything is may, and that's from a legal standpoint. And we have a lot of flexibility. Everybody does. And you're right. They don't certify. They just came out actually with a whole big disclaimer. The underwriter who insures most of the municipalities, towns, for waterfront lifeguards. And they said, which was pretty interesting, USLA came out and said, we do not certify the individual lifeguards. We certify the employer. Like you said, you have to follow certain rules, and then we say that you are in compliance, and then it's for us to train the lifeguards. And as far as what protocols we have out, every beach patrol, every town has a whole different mix. It could be quite different. So
I kind of look at it.
Yeah,
I kind of look at it like a snowplow operator, like in your state, or in my case, in my province, you go and get your driver's license for a certain size of vehicle, but then it's the municipality who hires you as their garbage truck, snowplow operator, heavy machine operator. And you have to follow those rules of the municipality, your local SOPs and bylaws and everything else. but you come from a base,
Yeah.
that says everybody knows that at a stoplight you're supposed to stop.
Yeah, yeah. We follow. So we have that, and we also have our health department in New Jersey. So we follow health department. They have a couple, like the stand can't be more than 30 yards from the water's edge. We have how far apart the lifeguards have to be on a beach that has multiple beaches. And how many people have to be on the stand, and even that though is kind of vague. And then then you have the so that's the state, and then you actually have counties. So we have county board of health, and they have their 2 cents that they throw in. But we have OSHA, you have the pollution aspects, animal stuff, wildlife. There's other people get involved. But I want to ask something.
Same here.
Yeah.
No,
No. So my question, I ask a lot of people this, our guests. So my thing is, if you listen to our show, we always ask, what was your most famous or infamous or that you remember a rescue? We all have them, and it could be a heart attack, whatever. But anything that you dealt with that is really an unbelievable.
It doesn't even have to be your biggest, just one that you want to share.
Yeah.
Well, I knew you were going to ask me that, so I was racking my brain because it's over 25 years. It's like,
I know.
which one am I going to talk about?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say two. One's a short one, which is I can remember my first one, my very first day working on the beach.
Most people can't remember their first one. It's weird.
Oh yeah, well,
it hits you, I guess.
I know. Well, and first day, and I'm trying to make and this was almost like a sport team tryout. Like I was invited to come up and shadow the towers and work that day. Like I hadn't.
How old were you? I'm sorry, Scott. How old were you now with this? Let's get the premise here. How old were you?
Oh, I was 98, and I'm heck, I'm 53. So like I started old on the beach, so I was like 20, 27, 28 or whatever.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So there I am, first day. It's like, turning around noon. It's getting a little sunny. I should put some sunscreen on. So I've got, take the old sunscreen, like it was probably SPF like 10 or something like this, It's like, okay, I do like one stripe down one leg, one stripe down the other leg, put the cap on, get ready to rub it in. And all of a sudden the radio squawks. And it's like, go, we got one. And I'm like, this is my first day hearing the radio squawk. And I've got like a senior guard behind me. It's like, what did he say? And he's like, go! It's like, okay. So now he's already down the lane, grabbed his rescue can. He's taken off down shoreline. And I'm like, I'm missing it. I'm going to get cut on the first day. So I jump up, I grab my rescue can, and I decide my best plan of action in order to catch up is try and go on an angle. Not remembering the important thing is always run the shortest distance you can on the soft sand, get to the hard sand on the shoreline, what I call highway sand, where you can motor like crazy along the shoreline, fewer people. So I'm going cross country, which is a mistake. And as I'm running, I miss my step, and I step right onto this kid's sandcastle.
Oh, man.
And face plant.
Yeah.
Get up, go by. This couple on a blanket are kind of like, it's like, oh gosh, here we go. Get over, running, go swim. After we finished, we got the rescue done. Like the other tower that had called it, like they're taking him back to go get the particulars and everything. And it's like the senior guard who's walking back with me. We're wrapping our can, getting it all ready for the next rescue. He says, "What happened?" He says, what do you mean? It's like, I yelled go. I saw you get up. I was ahead of you. All of a sudden, you were behind me. Then you were catching up again. Like, what happened? And I'm wrapping my can. It's like, yeah, I kind of bit it right on that sandcastle. And this couple right here, and I'm waving at them. They're waving back and still giggling. So my senior guard, he kind of looks at me. He says, when you fell, did you keep your mouth closed? So what do you mean? He says, did you keep your mouth closed? It's like, yeah. He says, nothing's worse than going to do a rescue with a mouthful of sand.
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
So, but the craziest one, and I'll try and keep, I don't know where our time is, but I'll try and keep it short here.
Put the arrow on so we can see where,
So
we're good.
The craziest one we have is up in Grand Bend. We have a parasail company that works there. So they take people out. They have the parasail, looks like the parachute on the cable, and they can have 2 people up on the parasail at a time. So they were out one day. It was a little bit wavy, but it was like, oh well, they're dealing with it, whatever. And they do a path where they kind of go out. They figure out which way the wind is blowing. They kind of let the parasail drift over top of the beach. They can see the sandbars and the swimmers and everything. Well, the parasail is heading kind of, our beach faces west, so we get some fabulous sunsets. But the parasail boat is heading north. Then all of a sudden, the parasail boat has turned around south and is motoring like crazy. And the parasail chute is slowly drifting down, but the wind is kind of going southbound as well, so it's kind of drifting down the beach. And we're like, what the heck is going on? Like, why is he going south so much that he's putting all this slack in the cable? And all of a sudden we realize it's like, oh, poop, the cable has snapped.
Oh,
So
Wow.
the parasail is coming down. It's drifting with the breeze. The people are safe. They're fine, but they're heading right down towards the pier. And all of the guys that are in the tower, we're kind of watching. All of a sudden, our beach captain kind of says, patrol, is everybody watching this? It's like, yeah. It's like, yeah, this is a go. This is a rescue. Everybody go. So now we're all jumping off the tower, and we're all running down shoreline to where we anticipate the parasail is going to land. Here's the thing, though. They land, the people in the harness, and they're wearing life jackets too. They land in the water, but the canopy is still inflated, and the canopy pulls them and pulls the two people in the harness up over across our pier and into the boat channel on the south side.
ooh.
So now we have, and the parasail boat has come inshore. One of the mates on the boat has jumped off the nose of the boat to try and go and get these girls. He's in pants and shoes and shirt and
Oh,
everything.
man, that could have. Yeah,
So now we've got three people in the water,
Mm.
two of them entangled in parasail cable harness and everything. We're trying to get them untangled and figure out what's going on. We've got the parents of the people who had rented the parasail time. They're running down the beach because they're seeing their daughters or kids or whoever land in the water. So fortunately, all said and done, three people supported and hauled out. The only injury that we really had to deal with is when the two girls got dragged across the pier. One of them broke an arm,
Oh, wow.
lower arm between their elbow and their wrist. And other than some abrasions going across the cement of the jetty, I mean, like that was kind of it. But yeah, that's kind of
That could have been a horror show.
the one of the crazy ones.
Wow, that's a pretty that's a good one. I mean that could have been. It reminds me we had once the town had they do all kinds of crazy things. We have concerts, and so they told us they were going to have these guys jump out of a plane, and they were professional parachute guys. And they're going to land on the beach. Of course, the beach was packed. We had thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So we had a clear an area. I don't know how big it was. We cleared this area. We all were told, how big the area should be. And, you hear the plane. You could hardly see up there, So finally these guys are coming down. And, one guy came right in the middle, right in the area that we had closed off, and another one. And then the last guy, again, I'm just going by memory, but like didn't shoot it right and came down, his feet and his body was like knocking people's heads over. It was like...
We had a kite surfer do that one time. It was a windy day. All of a sudden, this kite surfer launches, and I know it must have been his first time. He was dragged across the beach and into the parking lot. It was like, oh my God, go and unhook him.
Yeah,
Deflate the canopy.
Yeah, this is bad. They his feet hit people in the head and everything, knocked people's glasses off. I don't remember anybody getting hurt, but I remember that was kind of. But the thing that you had, thank God. They could have drowned, or they could have kept on getting pulled in the water and submerged. And I mean, it could have been like. And what do you guys do? I mean, I would be thinking if I was me, I'd be like, okay, what do we, that's a tough one to try to really think about ahead of time. How you gonna, cut the lines, whatever, if you had. I mean, and thank God.
Yeah,
she
did you
also
guys
had-
cut the lines, or did you just try to
Unsnap
Just
handle
under-
them as you were going?
Just unhooked from the harnesses.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Fortunately, like when the canopy finally hits the water, it submerges. Do you get kite surfers down in your area?
Yeah,
occasionally.
but we don't.
So the kite surfer canopy has that like
Yeah.
inflatable rib across the front,
Mhm.
and that one is still always kind of up catching wind. At least with the parasail, when it's wet, it's down. It's kind of, and they're wearing life jackets while they're in the rigging as well. So I mean, they were floating. So
Yeah. we've had, not on our beach, but around us, we've had a couple of we have the banner planes, these planes that pull the banners, and I've known about 3 of them that crashed. Nobody died, but they were emergencies. They dropped the banner in the water, which is an issue, and then the plane crashes. You got to get to the pilot as quickly as you can. Most of the times they were in pretty shallow water. We've had some boats that we had this one 4th of July weekend, and it was foggy, and these guys were pretty far out, and I don't know, they got in trouble, and they just drove the boat right into the beach. I think they were scared, and we just were coming in, and that was a little bit of a hassle. Actually, the boat broke up, but there's one where the lifeguards in Barnegat Inlet, one of the fishing boats, they're like 100-foot. They might have had like 50 people fishing. They were coming in again. It was a foggy. In June we have a lot of fog, and they for whatever reason missed the inlet. The inlet's big. It's at least, and they went aground. And actually they were sitting there. It was a funny scenario because the Coast Guard gave the signal for them the beach patrol to rescue them, and that became a real tough deal because they were in the boat. It's a huge boat. It was rough ocean. And there was a lot of rocks around and stuff, and a lot of people got hurt. But they got them all out. But it was it was a tough situation. It's not easy to get people off a big ship like that.
No.
I remember that. And the lifeguards, they train, but you don't really train for something like that.
So Sean, can I ask 2 more catch more questions?
Absolutely, I'm excited that you had a quiz.
Yeah,
Oh man, yeah.
Hey guys, like to torture me.
So I'm gonna make this one maybe an easy one for you there, Mike. What is the Spanish word for lifeguard?
Oh, that's a good one. Let me think. I'm not.
I have a guess if you don't.
It's not. What's your guess?
Is it not Los Salvadores, or because that's what our flags say?
I think it's Salvadores or Salvavidas.
Okay, yeah,
something like that. Way to go! Oh, I'll give it to you, Sean.
Way
Way
to
to
go, Sean. Say. Yeah.
So here's the
I should have my
backstory to
granddaughter
that.
here.
Vacationing.
She speaks very a lot of Spanish. But yeah, what were we gonna say?
So vacationing down in Mexico the one time, I'm first time visiting down in Cancun, going for a swim, and all of a sudden I've got the local lifeguards who are like, "Hey, amigo, come in." It's like it's dangerous. It's like I kind of walked up, but I said, "Oh, well, I'm a lifeguard." Oh, salvavidas, hey! It's like now they're letting me go out and like rip currents and everything. It's like, okay, well, maybe I should be a little safe here. I'm still like I'm not local.
We were actually, I was with a buddy of mine, Joe Casino, and he's a lifeguard at La Valette. And we were in Puerto Rico, and we were there for some kind of tournament. Or I forget what exactly it was, and it was a really shitty day, and we wanted to go work out and swim. And the lifeguard, we go, "Hey, can we go out there?" And he goes, "Oh, I wouldn't recommend it," in broken English. It's like it was very, very bad. I said, "Well, we'll be all right. Just keep an eye on us." He goes, "Oh, no." He goes, But it's funny. They have a little different attitude. But yeah. So what's the other question?
So here's the last question here. Can you tell me what percentage of the world's fresh water is contained within the Great Lakes?
Ooh.
See, I feel like it's a lot.
What percentage of the world's fresh water is contained within the Great Lakes?
That's a tough one because I know.
Besides the Great Lakes, what other large body of fresh water?
Antarctica, all the ice. That's all fresh water.
Oh, but that doesn't count. I don't.
Oh yeah, that's huge. Oh,
no, that doesn't. Ice doesn't count. That's ice.
No, that's huge. I mean, it's miles deep. I would say that's where most of the fresh water is in the north and south poles.
But it's not like bodies of water. We're talking like fresh bodies.
I think over in Russia they have like Lake Baikal or something.
Is that a big lake? Do you know?
Oh, it's massive.
Okay,
I think that's like the deepest one. But you think, okay, like Minnesota, all of the little lakes and freshwater all over the U.S., the Mississippi, like all the freshwater across the world. I mean, how much is contained in the Great Lakes?
I'd say I don't know, but I'd give a guess. I'd say about 50%. If I had to, I'd say the poles 50%, and because I mean there's the United States, but you also have Europe. I mean there's a lot of fresh water, and I know in Africa, I mean there's some big lakes. So I would say, if I had to give a guess, I'd say 50%, but I have no.
I'm gonna let you lock that in. But I think I just recently saw a video where you can fit like multiple statues of liberty in the Great Lakes or something absurd.
Well, there's a lot of water there, but there's So how off are we?
So you're off a bit. The actual percentage that I saw, it's just over 20% of the world's fresh water is in the Great Lakes. But you
So
made a
about
good
the
point
world,
there,
but-
Sean. It's like I know that I mentioned the Edmund Fitzgerald before going down in Lake Superior, and they were found in 530 feet of water.
Yeah.
And
Well-
there's other pockets in Lake Superior where you could easily put the Empire State Building in.
Yeah, I think my question. What I was thinking on that one is, in the world, how much fresh water is in lakes, as opposed to where that.
Yeah, but you were counting ice.
No, because I say most. No, the ice is fresh water. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why when that melts.
Yeah, but clouds are fresh water too, and they don't count, Catch.
Well, you see,
Faucets,
yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of water up in the clouds. That's a good one. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, but no, I was in Chicago many years ago, and what I thought was really neat is that you drive. It was in the summertime, and I was driving around whatever the road is, and I got the buildings on one side and the beach on the other, and it was pretty neat. And I went down there, and that water, man, that looked like an ocean to me. And you see these big ships out there, yeah, and that was amazing. And I thought that was pretty neat, though, because New York City is kind of like that. I mean, you have beaches, Long Island, but where you're going down a road and it's like right there. Because Manhattan, we go up there, we take the ferry boat, we take past the Statue of Liberty, and there's a lot of water. But to have a beach that close, that's pretty neat. So
It's amazing being on a lake where you can't see the other side.
Yeah,
it is.
When
I've
you
seen the
watch
Great Lakes.
when you watch the sun set on the lake, that's where people. It's like they are freshwater oceans. It's freshwater surf. It's a freshwater ocean.
Yeah. But you make a good point about that, the swimming, because we swim in the pool in the winter, and it's a big difference. And I tell you, and even when you go down the Caribbean, where it's even saltier, you even float more. You feel like a stud. It's just you don't even have to worry about it. You could, yeah. I would imagine how it's to swim in the Salt Lake.
Fresh water.
No, the Salt Lake in Utah. The Salt Lake.
Oh yeah.
The Great Salt Lake.
Great Salt Lake. Yeah. Well, listen, I tell you, it's been really good. We probably did about an hour and a half almost, right? Yeah, look at that, hour 16. So listen, it's been great.
Hey, my goal was to become your favorite Canadian. If you
No,
want
I
to
tell you
call me
what.
back for any questions or call me down to visit, I'm all for it, man.
Oh yeah,
I'd love to have you back on.
Yeah, I learned so much. We try to get a lot of people. We have some friends in Florida, and we're trying to expand our guest pool. But it's amazing how much you learn from other people, and But you're right. There's probably 90% we all do the same thing. And when you're telling the stories, it's like it's our stories. I mean, I could go anywhere in the world, and if we Saudi Arabia, Australia, anywhere in the world, and you get another lifeguard, and we know exactly what we each know, and it's great. And but there's the variations that are pretty neat to know, and
that's the cool part. When you talk to a different lifeguard, you learn a new trick, and it makes you a better lifeguard in the long run. Like I've learned so much from talking to Australian friends and people from England and Italy. Even when I was over there, like it was amazing.
Yeah.
And to your point, Mike, I mean, we're all lifeguards. I mean, even when I go and fill out, like my wife gives me, crap for it because I'll go to the bank and fill out, something for an account and it'll say profession. I'll always put lifeguard / paramedic because I'm a lifeguard first, man. Like I've been a lifeguard since I was 17. That's all it comes down to.
When I started, I don't know how many years ago. I worked for about 10 years before Irma hit down the Caribbean. I did vascular surgery down in British Virgin Islands, and I got to know the lifeguards. They actually, the head lifeguard, I did some vein surgery on him. And I tell you, when I wasn't working and on the weekends, I mean, that's where I hung out, and I became such good friends with those guys, and let me have the boards, and I go out, and I mean, it was just the greatest time, and that really made that experience down there probably so much nicer because I was brought in under their wing, and they really we had a great time. It
was like when I visited in Hawaii. I walked up to a tower and said, "Can I borrow a paddleboard?" It's like, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
"I'm a lifeguard."
Yeah.
I was like, "Prove it." I got on the paddleboard for a couple paddles. It's like, "Yep, you're good, dude. Go ahead."
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Well, I got carte blanche down in Florida. You know, we got Jerry down there. I mean, how many years I remember when because he lived up here and he's one of the I think he's
A lieutenant or something.
yeah, he's like second in command, you know, of the Miami Beach Patrol. And I remember one time I was down there because I used to go down there. I had a friend of mine who owned a condo down there. He's a plastic surgeon buddy of mine, and I remember I go up to Jerry and I called him. I'm coming down, and he's there, and it's I don't know, it's probably a Saturday, and I'm talking to him, and he's now that beach. Part of that beach is topless, you know. So these about 7, 8 girls come up and they're asking questions to Jerry, you know. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, you know, it's like, I don't see that every day in New Jersey. And he didn't even blink an eyelash. And they walked away and I go, he goes, Mike, I see it all the time. It doesn't. So,
Hey, Sean, I wanted to ask you real quick if I could. I know you've spoken to, I think it's Tyler had the beach house down there that the lifeguards hang out at.
Yeah.
We've got the lifeguard cottage up in Grand Bend, the LGC, lifeguard
The
cottage.
LGC.
oh, there
It's
you
the
go.
lifeguard cottage, and we all end up with nicknames. Do you guys end up with nicknames on the towers, or?
Oh yeah. They call me Key because my last name is McKee, so they just call me Key. Tyler, they used to call Durr. Actually, Cashmore has a couple different
I got
names.
a lot, yeah.
We call him Cash where we're from, but some people call him Shoes.
You know what? I tell you what. It's probably you'll appreciate this. Back in the day when the movie came out, Lifeguard. Remember Lifeguard?
Yeah, with Sam Elliott.
Right. Well, that was they. You know, they used to bust my balls on the beach. You know, they used to call me Sam Elliott.
He still
Why?
gets shoes a lot more.
Why? I don't know why, but you know, and we had the speaker system, right? And we would have a lost kid. We even do it now. So if a little lost kid comes up, and we have like on weekend maybe 30, 40 of them. We'll go transmit up to the headquarters. This is Sumner Avenue. We got a little lost boy, 5 years old. Name is John, and they would announce it over the loudspeaker. Anybody looking for a little boy, John? Report to the lifeguard at Sumner Avenue. Well, what we would do is, and this is back in the day, we don't do that anymore, but they would call up and go, hey, we have a little boy, his last name is Elliott, first name is Sam. And then next thing you know, you hear, Sam, anybody looking for a little boy? Sam Elliott, Sam Elliott.
Scott,
So,
what nickname did they call you? I think I know where you're going with this.
So the lifeguards where I work, we end up with 2 nicknames, basically. We end up with our lifeguard initials, and we end up with our lifeguard nickname. My lifeguard nickname is Barney.
Okay.
Because Barney Rubble from the Flintstones.
Oh,
wow. Right.
So I was Barney on the beach, but my lifeguard initials were RB, Ranger Bob, because prior to working when I was going through like university and that, I used to work in our provincial park system, like your state park. So I was a park ranger, and one day down on the beach, we get these. They're not poisonous, but they're water snakes. And they usually stay in the river because they go after frogs and everything. But every time the river effluent gets like really fierce, it'll blow them out. They'll swim around the pier. They'll end up on the beach. Well, any kid that sees it start throwing rocks and sticks at it. So it's like, well, they're harmless. Like they're actually doing a good part for the ecosystem. So I went down with my rescue can, put it on its back, grabbed it by the head, and walked it over and put it in the riverside of the pier and watched it swim away. My beach captain, Rayon, he's like, what are you, like Ranger Bob or something?
So there you go, yeah.
So that was my lifeguard initials. It was RB for the longest time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's good.
And we get like, there's Nut, there's the pilot, Spider-Man.
Ooh.
Usually for things that somebody does on the beach. Sometimes a play on their name and that. Yeah. That's amazing after a while.
It really is all the same everywhere you go. Huh?
We used to have, it's funny because I've been doing it for such a long time. One of the things that we liked and we stopped doing it for a while, we haven't brought it back, is when we had our banquet, we would have gag gifts, and something that happened, try not to be too controversial, but and just to goof on, like Ranger Bob or something that somebody did, fall in a hole. Like we had one guy, he swam out on a rescue with his hood on, and time he got out there, the sleeves were hanging. I mean, they didn't take their clothes off going in the water, things like that. So we used to have a lot of fun. But that's the great thing. I used to take the guys out on every Sunday, not every Sunday, but every other Sunday, up on the boardwalk, and I'd buy them all pizza, and that was a lot of fun. And we still try to do that. What are you going to say?
I'm just trying to think of other nicknames we've had over the years. Well, we had some kid who his first week, it was this year, came in with a ponytail. They made our bosses made him cut it. You know what I'm talking about now?
Oh yeah.
So for his whole career, we always just call him now Ponytail Mike. So he doesn't even have long hair anymore, but he's Ponytail Mike for life.
Yeah, we usually
We have a guy named Beardo, and he had to shave off his beard for his other job, and it's like, and he's still Beardo, even though he's clean face.
Yeah, we don't
like,
change him.
Who the heck
well,
is
you know what I
Beardo?
do? I kill their names. I kid around with their names. We got one. You know, I'll call like Hollandaise sauce.
Hollandaise. Yeah.
So I'll call him Hollandaise sauce. Get over here. And then the other kid, his name is Stuff. How do you pronounce his name? Stiff. I call him Stiffneck.
Oh yeah, Stalkneck's his real name.
Stiffneck. I call him Stiffneck. Get over here. He's a young kid, 16 years old. You know, I mean, the first year he made this big rescue. You know, and so I kid around with him. I try to, you know, when the shit, excuse my lines, when it hits the fan, I try to make them laugh and you know, because I mean, it really gets them sometimes. So yeah, that's what I do. I kid around with their names.
We all wait for our nickname because when you're talking over the radio, it's in order to keep things kind of, you know, a little bit code.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, so by using the handle over the radio, it's like, hey, you know, to Zorro, come in. Well, it's like, oh yeah, hey, I'm here. Just differentiates, and then when you end up with like 3 mics on the team or whatever, it's like, well, wait a second, which one are we talking to? You know, Mike K, Mike R, Mike what?
Yeah, we have some characters too. So we have one guy. He was talking about. He had the mullet, and then he was wearing what he is. He was a young kid. The shorts he picked out were so tight, right? And he right. You know,
he's a big kid. He picked the smallest shorts.
Right. So he had these tight shorts on. And I look at him. Then we have whistles. You know, we give him a halyard. You know, it's like the traditional USLA, whatever you buy from the company. He takes and gets 2 whistles he puts on. Now this is a rookie. You know, 2 whistles, and he got this stupid lanyard. It's like black and white stripes. He's got the mullet hairdo, the tight shorts. And I call him up. I go, what? I said, what are you doing? I said, first of all, what do you need 2 whistles for? What was his excuse? What was it?
I think 2 Chainz was his inspiration. The rapper. Do you know who he was?
I don't know. I go, no. I said 1 whistle. That's it. You got 1. You don't need 2 whistles. Number 1. Number 2 is, I said, listen, you look like, I said, you look fat. So here's why I did psychology. I said, well, you look fat with those shorts on. I said, listen, let's get you a pair of shorts. And I got him the biggest ones I could get. They were way too big for him. He put them on. And I said, look, you look like a stud now. You look so skinny. And then he started wearing them. But then he had the mullet hairdo. And we have another guy on the beach who had the mullet. And what happened was he didn't shave the mullet, but he had his mustache. And I said, listen, you either shave both or you grow the mustache back because he looks so funny. But this kid and him had a kind of war. And then the first kid, he actually came in one day and his hair was blonde. He bleached it.
He looked like the Tiger King.
See, the first thing I would have said if somebody's wearing a double whistle, it's like, what are you, DW? It's like,
we get stuff. And then one beach, but my buddy, we were telling they have some kids on the beach who this one kid came from big money, the parents, and he put his whistle on a solid gold chain. Like a thick gold chain, and they go, nah. You either take that off or you're done, So we get that kind of stuff. We have all different kind of people, and we have a lot of girls in the beach now, and sometimes they have a lot of jewelry on, so we try to keep it down. But it's pretty neat though. We have a lot of fun. We do.
Oh, yeah.
They're all good kids. We kind of give them a little hard time. But but he came around, the one with the mullet. He in the beginning of the season, he was not the best swimmer.
Yeah, he's a good kid though.
He's a good kid. I like him, and that's one thing that we do. We get them on the beach. They're young. They're 16, 17, and that's one of the things that I love about the beach show. I watch these kids. I mean, I watched him when he was, how old were you when you started? 16.
Yeah, 18, 17.
Yeah, and how old are you now?
25 now.
Yeah, and I watch these kids grow up, and I watch them, get better. And like the one kid with the mullet I was talking about, his name is Nick. I tell you what, he's really matured really well, and it's good for us. I mean, it makes us feel good that we're doing something like that. So what do you say?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's an hour and a half. Time flies.
Everybody has my email, so don't share it with the world. But
absolutely be
you want to get in
again.
touch with me, yeah.
Yeah, we love. We're like I said, we're always here. We try to do at least one show a week, and we love our technology here. And did you see our studio? We can't see the whole thing here. Yeah, we have a pretty nice studio here, and we have a lot of equipment, and we love it. This picture's great. It really looks good. We haven't had any
Here I am
problems.
with my iPod earphones.
No, you're doing great.
Yeah,
We could actually
They
on
work really well.
on our end, we could actually manipulate your picture and sound, but you're doing really well. That's the nice thing about this program. And we could actually put a background, green background.
We don't have to talk about the
No.
the
Anyway,
programs on there.
yeah, I know, with waves and everything. All right,
Sean,
listen.
it wouldn't be the same show if Catch didn't go off somewhere.
Off topic. Well, listen, Scott, it's been a pleasure. I tell you what, you give the profession. I'm so proud. I mean, you're a professional, and you're a great storyteller. And it just, you're the kind of quality guy that that we all try to, that we have in our lifeguarding. I think this perception that we're a bunch of idiots and we don't know what we're doing. That's not the case. So listen, I thank you. Great interview. You could watch this and like I said, YouTube, Facebook and Rumble, excuse me.
Everybody,
That's
please,
Rumble.
please like and subscribe.
Yeah, and
turn on
Barney
notifications.
Rumble.
Rumble, and we'll have this on Spotify and
Barney
Apple.
Rumble.
Yeah, you'll be on Spotify in about 10 minutes too. So listen, we're definitely going to have you back on. If you'll have us, we'll have you, and
Hey.
we'll try to get some. What we'll do is next time we'll get some questions for you.
Absolutely.
About
Let us know.
I was going to hit you up with the Lake Huron and all with the Indians and everything, and the last Mohicans. but I was gonna-
Huron,
Huron,
Catchmeyer.
excuse me. We were going to go with that, but I decided not.
You opted out.
Yeah, opted out. But listen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. And
Scott, if you know it, please go ahead. If
Hey,
okay. Well, let's get.
we'd like to thank you for another safe day. We hope you have a safe trip home. Here's from the Grand Bend Beach Patrol. Getting wet, breaking hearts, saving lives. Stay out and stay alive.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Scott. All right. Well, take care. You have a nice rest of your week.